You've had a very cool career from what I've seen, different experiences, and we'll touch on those. But I'm curious, what made you want to bring together the arts and marketing into the role that you have at the moment?
Yeah, I think it has been a bit of an interesting journey, and I've sort of moved in different directions. Sort of heading out of high school, I was always quite a creative kid, did all the art subjects and things like that. Actually entered into my first course, which was more applied art and art history, but decided fairly early on perhaps it was more of a hobby for me and I couldn't really see myself having a career out of it. I probably didn't have the skill required. I'd like to think I did, but putting wasn't a career for me. So I kind of started thinking of different ways in which I could still be in the industry, but apply some different skills that I could bring to arts and events and marketing. Did a business degree and majored in marketing and events. So gave me an opportunity to explore something that I was passionate about. And I think because I was always a creative person, I wanted lots of creative people inspired me. So it gave me an opportunity to share their stories through marketing and be a bit of a storyteller and live in a creative world without actually having the creative talent myself. I'm not musical. I cannot play any instrument. I can draw a picture, but, nothing that I'd want you to put on your wall. Yeah, so I think that's kind of how it all came together. Kept this sort of creativity simmering in the sideline, had a bit of a cake decorating business with my sister, but really focused on events and marketing throughout my career at various different places. I was with the Australian Open, I've been with Melbourne Racing Club, I've been with Mariner Theatres in the CBD, and then had this wonderful opportunity with Frankston Arts Centre to, closer to home, do something that I love.
Cake decorating and drawing are very similar. I can see how you would go into that.
I think, originally I was also sculpting. So I was sculpting out of clay, but then I started sculpting out of like icing and fondant and things like that. So it was all sort of, it evolved. Yeah. But then, having children became a little bit different. I wasn't making as many cakes. They just didn't quite understand don't touch when, you're decorating a cake that's $800 and they want to play with, they think it's Play-Doh and it's just not. So, I sort of, tried to funnel my creative
Creative mind.
Creative mind into other avenues. Yeah.
No, it's very cool. And I love that approach that you were saying there, the storytelling approach. So you've identified that you love the area of the arts. You may not have the talent within you to sing, to dance, to do any of that kind of stuff, but you've identified that you have the ability to tell a story, which is an art form in itself. And so I love that you've been able to bring that through and be able to do that in your work. So talk us back to that moment in time there. What was in your mind at that moment where you thought, oh, that's a cool concept, being able to tell people stories? Like what was present in your life at that point in time that made you realise that could be an opportunity for you?
Yeah, I think I've always loved, I had the opportunity to go to the theatre with my parents growing up, and I really enjoyed seeing live shows, being involved with live shows through school, but not actually out on stage myself, and just inspired by other creative talents, people that can get out there and do it, people that have written beautiful pieces, and just being able to share that with people that don't necessarily explore their creative side so much. They don't know what they don't know. They don't know what they're missing out on. And there's so much out there that could be for them.
For me, storytelling is a big part of what we do with video, of course. Mm-hmm. And when I look into that and I think about what's the passion that got me into it, I think about my own life of what I was doing beforehand. And I think, okay, I was training for soccer. I wanted to take that professionally. You put all this effort in your life to try and work yourself to that point where you have a chance, a shot at doing whatever. Sport doesn't matter what it is, right? You work towards something, and sometimes you want that recognition, not from an ego perspective, but just recognition to say, yeah, you've put that work in, you've done a good job. I think storytelling is a big part of that. It doesn't matter if it's sport, in business, or any part of life. People just want recognition for every step that they take in their day-to-day life, there's someone there that just says, hey, you're doing well, you're doing a good job. And I think storytelling brings a big part of that.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. And particularly, I mean, there's storytellers and there's storytellers. I feel like I'm a good storyteller about things that I'm passionate about, and always being in sort of marketing and sales roles, I'm like, I can't present something to you that I'm not passionate about. It's not believable. So I just want to be authentic and real, and that's why I'm lucky to being in an industry that I love, because I'm not trying to push something or sell something or try and share an experience about something that, doesn't resonate with me. Yeah. So.
And how do you find bringing that into sales and marketing? Because there's that age-old approach of sales, perspective of sales, where it's harsh and it's in your face and it's like, do this or you'll have everything bad in your life happen to you. But of course, we know that that's the very 1% of sales, and most people aren't like that. So how do you bring in storytelling into your role in sales and marketing at the Arts Centre? How do you bring in the storytelling element to, I suppose, sell people on the experience, the idea, the potential, the opportunity?
Yeah, I think it's certainly not, the used car salesman or the steak knives with that or anything like that. The hard sell, I've never been that type of salesperson. I never even thought I was a salesperson. I've been more of a relationship building person, and sharing stories and just being real and sharing experiences and trying to get the person to imagine themselves in a situation, whether that be through our theatre, in one of our experiences, one of our shows, or in our event spaces, doing something a bit different for their clients, trying to get them to imagine the space. Maybe it's something different, like a dinner on stage, or something really unique, rather than just your typical conference dinner or something like that. So trying to get them to feel emotions and think about themselves in that picture. It's probably the way I've kind of gone about it in the past. And I've got a fairly gentle approach. I think, particularly in the industry I'm in, often when we are trying to sell to people, they don't have an event in mind. They haven't got an occasion coming up. They just need some, venues and things to put in their toolbox, back of their mind, that when something does come up, they know who to contact, and continue to have that relationship with them. Because often it's really hard to do a sales call and just do, like a cold call and ring you and say, hey, Didier, you want to hire a function centre for 300 people in 2 months' time? I can give you a great deal. Do you necessarily have, 300 people that you want to invite for dinner that night?
Unless you've got the intention to do that, it's not going to be any worthwhile value in your time to do that call.
Exactly. So a lot of it is, like relationship building, getting familiar with our venue and sharing stories about other events that are happening and keeping it present and in mind. So with our EDMs and our database, telling them stories and sharing photos of different events so that they can think about different ways that perhaps they could use the spaces. And also through our social media content. We do a lot in LinkedIn for the corporates and business. So we're just continually dropping into their feeds and, showing them different events and things that have happened at our centre that might resonate with them, and it might be, something that sparks their curiosity. Yeah, that's kind of how we work. Yeah.
And would I be correct in thinking that a lot of that relationship building and showcasing on social media different forms of events is part of distinguishing between the theatre side of the Arts Centre, which is what most people would probably think of from the outside of, if you're going to the Arts Centre, you're there to see a show, versus the other side of it, which is the event side and the hospitality side, where you're hosting these corporate functions. Is all that part of it to kind of distinguish between those two areas? Yeah,
we do. We've got two quite separate audiences. We've got our theatre audience, who we have, sort of 50,000 people on our database that receive information about shows all the time. Now, some of them cross over to the function centre, but primarily about 4 years ago when I came into this role, it was the first time that there was a really big push to market the other spaces within the venue. They were hired out, but there wasn't a specific person dedicated to marketing and awareness and letting people know about what's out there. So there was a big push to build the awareness, get people in and show them beyond coming into the front doors and having a drink at the bar and heading into the auditorium. Had you have turned left, there's an enormous function centre, can take 300 people for a sit-down dinner, 800 people for a cocktail reception. There's so much more space that you may not be aware of. There's also lots of meeting rooms. We've got gallery spaces and just different ways of using the space. You may walk into a theatre, sit down to watch a show, but we have, say, last year we had 270 performances on in the theatre. Majority of those are generally later in the week on evenings. So there is availability. There's capacity to be having things during the day, whether you use it for a conference or a keynote speaker or an awards presentation for a school, valedictory dinners where you potentially need 800 seats for parents when you're allowed to invite a parent or a friend and so forth. So there's different ways we can use the auditorium, the function centre and the meeting spaces. So it's just making, awareness around those things. And thankfully through, great relationships with, we're the venue partner with Frankston Business Chamber. So we have the opportunity to host a lot of their events, which means bringing a lot of business professionals to the venue. And each time we try and use a different space to host those events, which is great. So it's just showcasing all those different spaces. We've got great relationships and we're members of Business Events Victoria. So we get lots of exposure through them and we can do exhibitions and things showing our space. And also with Mornington Peninsula business events as well. We work with a lot of the venues in the area and a lot of the businesses. So there's a lot of education in it and a lot of letting people know what's possible. And a lot of our, campaigns are a bit of a, did you know? Did you know this? Did you know that? We can also do this. We can do that. You can have a cocktail party in the Glass Cube. Fun around art. It gets those creative juices flowing. It's really great for, conferences and breakout sessions, brainstorming, things like that. We can also offer really great enhancement opportunities like the Frankston Street Art Tours with the massive murals that are all around Frankston. You can have a conference and you need a breakout session and give yourself a bit of a brain break just from outside the forecourt out the back. You take off on one of those tours. You come back and again it's just tying in with that artistic way of being a bit of a unique venue and a unique experience, which I feel is quite memorable for the delegates rather than going to, and there's some lovely CBD conference facilities and hotels that have conference rooms, but it's a little bit more memorable and different and unique and perhaps a bit more Instagrammable, a photo on the main stage or in front of some artwork or a really unique sculpture than just being in something a little bit more clinical and, traditional.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, particularly if you're a peninsula-based business or in that Frankston area. You don't want to be travelling 45 minutes into the CBD to host an event and then have to drive back 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. At least you can be in Frankston, you can be local, you're 10 minutes from home, 15 minutes from home. And the spaces, I've been very lucky to experience many of the spaces at the Arts Centre from different perspectives. So we've had, you touched on the Frankston Business Chamber just before, so they've had their awards night last year. So that was as you were saying, there 300 people sit down dinner kind of style events. Then they also had the Business Expo, so that incorporated even a larger space going out into the foyer, showing all that around. And then we've filmed in the auditorium a few times, doing some interviews in the seats, but we've also filmed school productions there as well. So we've got different scope there. And then there's the upstairs area as well. You're just saying the cube next door, and then you've got smaller little rooms and meeting spaces all around the precincts there. So that there really is a massive scope of venues for different sizes, different occasions, different purposes.
Oh, I love how much you know our venue. It sounds like our marketing's working.
and I've been in the green rooms and all the rest of it.
Yeah. Oh, well, there we go.
Behind the scenes, everything. Seen everything.
And that's part of it. People love seeing behind the scenes. We've done some backstage tours where they get to go and have a look at all the systems, the fly ropes and the fly tower, and just see things from above where we do the follow spots. And corporates love it. They love just taking a look at things that, you can't normally see and you normally have no idea the makings and the workings and the intricacies behind the stage. Yeah, because such a polished production is performed once those curtains open. No one gets to see that stuff and they love seeing the raw behind the scenes. Yeah, special treats. So
I remember being in there one day to film and it was in between shows. So they were setting up and packing down and setting up in between shows, and the orchestra pit was open. And I didn't even realize there was an orchestra pit there. And I remember just leaning over the top, and it's got the net obviously at the top there. I was like, wow, this is really cool. It's just a little thing like that, but it's just to see that you don't normally see it. So it's like, oh, the curiosity is there. And the same from the lighting gantry. I've been lucky to go up there a few times, and just the different perspective you see from looking up there, and you see the big lights. I mean, they're bigger than what these ones are. They're massive, massive lights, the spotlights there. And again, it's just the curiosity of it. And I think back, the example I use all the time. So I'm a big cricket fan. One of my favourite things in the summer is Fox go and do their broadcast, and there's probably 1 or 2 times during the summer where they'll go and show you behind the scenes with the broadcast truck, or they'll go into the players' change rooms, and it's just a 5-minute little snippet. And it's like, it's very cool because you get to see the curiosity comes out in you, the child comes out in you. It's like, oh, that's cool. Have a look at that, because we can't see it. And this goes back into what you were touching on earlier around emotions and feelings and experiences. If you can tap into that in your messaging around, oh, this is the opportunity. You know, you could see this, you can have that. It just sits in the back of your mind, and let it sit there, and at the right time it pops out. And then you go, oh, actually that'd be cool. Let's go have a chat with Rachel and have a inquiry around, maybe we can go in that space, and that'd be cool for our guests and our clients, however it may be.
Yeah, absolutely. And then when they do come in, because ideally a site inspection does wonders, and you can take them on that journey and you can talk them through it. Occasionally we've had people that can't come on site and do a tour. Maybe they're interstate, or they've got additional people that want to attend that can't come. So we have virtual tours online. We've got room scans so they can, do a look around of the space. Occasionally I've walked people through just with my phone, just on FaceTime, so they can have a look at the different spaces as well. But it's great to get them in there in person and just give them a sneak peek, and sometimes just I'll come and have a quick look behind the stage, just an introduction to that, a taste of what could be possible. And that really gets them thinking. And sometimes not just thinking about the event that they're looking at now. They might be thinking about a small boardroom meeting for 12 people, but in the back of their head, they're going, oh my gosh, we'd love to have a dinner on stage and have someone performing from up in the dress circle back to them or something like that. So they do then start thinking bigger, and different ways in which they can use the space, which is great. And we see that with so many of our existing clients. They use the space, they enjoy the professional service that they get from our catering team and our in-house techs, which is huge in terms of being able to offer a function space, to have your own in-house technicians. A lot of people use outside AV companies. They're not as familiar with the spaces. I mean, sometimes it's us saying to the techs, now they just want a lectern, a screen and a projector. Don't need the bells and whistles, no follow spots. It's just literally a keynote speaker. But it's knowing that there's the ability to do that. They can give them the whole production if they want that. They've got streaming and hybrid events and things like that. We've got all of those facilities in-house, and I think that makes people quite comfortable when they come in. And the techs are on site, so it means that even though we're telling them about what's possible, often we can show them straight away. They can hit some switches, turn on some great lights and some gobos and decorative lights around the place, and show them there and then. So I think that's a great advantage for us, being able to set the scene as well as tell the story. Yeah.
It's all about unique experiences at the end of the day. No one is going to remember they walk into work at the same time, they park in the same car park, they walk there, come in at 9 o'clock, they go home at 5 o'clock. They do that 5 days a week for 5 years of that job. They're not going to remember that. But that one time there was that event at the Arts Centre, and they got the behind the scenes tour of the stage, and they saw the curtains and all the pulley systems and the lighting and all that. Like, that's cool. Yeah. They'll remember that. That's unique. But they don't remember everything else that's monotonous in their life. So the key there, from the sounds of it, is showcase that unique experience, either verbally initially, through a site inspection later on, show them the potential, get the idea in their head, and then after then it's all up to the imagination, really, and that's what sells them on it.
Absolutely. I mean, we need to promote our uniqueness. There's lots. You hit Google at the moment and look for venues throughout the Mornington Peninsula or southeast Melbourne, and there's heaps. So yes, we've got all the fundamentals. We've got the car parking on site. We've got the food and beverage team. We've got the facilities, but it's the uniqueness that sometimes will get them, because the client needs the same logistically. They need to be fed. They need to be, they need the facilities. They need the AV. They need all of that. But they have different motivations and they want to get different things from the event. So I think, yes, you just lost me again.
No, you're fine.
Tripped over myself. Yeah. So I think it's about working out what the client wants from the actual event. And I think a lot of the time they do want the delegates to walk away and remember, what was done in that particular occasion, so that they do hopefully enjoy the event and think, oh, that was, the last event that particular company held was fantastic. And they go to the next one and the next one. And yeah,
So we'll pop back to the Arts Centre in just a moment. It's been fascinating to just understand a bit more around the sales and the marketing aspect of it, because as we were saying, there is a perception, and I definitely had this before I learnt more about the Arts Centre, but it's just, that's the theatre, that's the place you go to for the shows in the local area. But there's so much more to it. And you've expanded on that, which is brilliant. But you've also got another exciting thing happening in your life at the moment, because you've just been selected for the LG Pro Emerging Leaders Program.
Yeah. It's actually been a huge honour, and it sort of came about at the end of last year. We were able to apply. So the first hurdle was being selected by my own council. So Frankston City Council took a leap of faith in me. My management, so my immediate manager and other manager, had to basically endorse me and gave me some feedback, which was it was lovely to hear and be supported by them by putting me forward. So I was very privileged to be put forward by Frankston Council to the LG Pro. And from that, I think they had about 70 applications. So they narrowed that down to 25 to form the class. So there's a class of 25 participants, and we've just started. We did a 2-day residential in February, which was incredible, meeting lots of people from various different councils, anywhere from Swan Hill to Wodonga to Geelong to Mornington Shire, and also some metro-based councils as well. So a really diverse mix of people from various different departments. So it's really exciting to meet and make connections with people from different councils, and lots of people have got they're working in different leadership roles and capacities, but with different workforces. So some have got more of your sort of essential workers and maternal health nurses and things like that. And then there could be a comms team, or there could be environmental or safety or governance. There's so many different areas represented where there could be lots of people working from home, or they could have more of a team that are in the office, or others that have to be, down in the dispatch or wherever they may be, or out on the roads or servicing drains and things like that. So there's just I think it'll give us a really great overview of learning how to lead and manage different types of workforces.
Yeah, that's very, very broad, significantly
huge,
broad.
Yeah.
So from the sounds of it, so it's one representative, not from every council, because there's a lot of 70-something councils in the state, right? But the ones that have been successful as applicants, they each represent a local council. Is that correct?
Yes, there's no double up on any of the councils. So there's one from each. And then what they try and do is it runs for the course of a year, and roughly each month we go to a different council, and it may not necessarily be one that's represented from the participants, but it's a council that perhaps have a great leader and potentially different styles of leadership, so we can learn from different leaders across government. But yeah.
Fascinating. So it's only been very fresh, this program. It's only been running for a couple of months for your edition anyway. So what have you seen so far? What experiences have you been a part of to date?
Yeah, I think the first thing they did was make us do a big deep dive on ourselves and where we currently sit and what we sort of think that our leadership style is, perhaps how we are perceived by our colleagues, as well as what the expectations are on us. I think the first 2 days were great learning experiences, completely information overload, but I think we took some valuable tools away from that. And even heading back to the office after the first 2 days was already starting to sort of think about different team members, looking at their different skill sets and where their value is, and ways in which the team work together, and just how it's organically happened, but you can just sort of pick things out a little bit differently. And I think one of the things that stuck with me was very much about leaders aren't always expected to have the answers, and that, there's power and curiosity in asking questions. So I was always of the thought, and I'm like that with my family, that I should know the answer. I'm the leader of the family. My children come to me and I need to know the answers, but that's not always the case. And there's, the ability and the time and it's empowering others to think about the answers and come with solutions as well. So I think that was something that straight away made me think about, I don't always have to have the answer. Yeah.
It's an interesting inflection point, isn't it? Like, it's one of those things where you don't consider that as an option until you are presented with either someone saying that to you explicitly, or you find yourself in a situation where you realise, oh, hang on, I actually don't know the answer, and it is better for me to go and seek help from someone else to provide an answer. Yes. And it's definitely something that leaders of any background or industry, doesn't matter what it is, eventually there's that inflection point where they kind of realise that that is the case. And it's a powerful thing, because then it goes and leans into their peers and that empowers their peers. Yes, and that elevates the rest of the organisation, which is an incredibly powerful thing.
Yeah, well, it was that whole thing of nobody's perfect and everyone has different skill sets and there's different types of leaders. And that was sort of the first couple of sessions in just trying to work out where you sit. Are you the grand ideas person that puts the ideas out there, or are you the development person that takes those ideas and puts things, really starts planning it out and seeing how you could shape it? Or are you the analytical one that's a bit more like, okay, we need to look at the risks and we need to consider the budgets and really breaking it down? Or are you the leader that leads the action? So when it's going to happen, how are we going to do this, and let's make it happen and let's go for it. So there was just establishing where you are in that as well, and then perhaps finding out who the others are that show the strengths in those other areas that maybe you need some support with, and realizing you don't have to do everything, it's not all on you. So yeah,
where do you think you sit on that kind of spectrum of
leaders?
Yeah,
I think it depends on what it is. I would like to think that with time and the ability to come up with more ideas and things like that, I would sit sort of further up at the creating ideas. But I really do think I feel I'm more comfortable in that development stage. So perhaps having a few ideas presented to me and then really considering and breaking down those ideas. So I probably fit more in that development stage. And the act, I like to, be there and put things into action and see things happening and see results. And at that kind of end, I'm not so great with the analytical part and the evaluation and, ticking the boxes and, doing all the research and things like that. But I think important to recognise where, you need some help. So
kind of leads into your art side of it as well, I suppose, doesn't it? Like the idea at the very, very top is the most extreme version of creativity, of course, and then refining that and saying, okay, well, we've got these as our options, and then let's explore those a little bit more and unearth the story, as you were touching on earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. I've always been in the events industry, so there's a lot of planning that takes place in that space. So it is very much how are we going to get the best result? How are we going to achieve this? What is the best way we could deliver this? So yeah, that's probably my comfort zone. Not to say I'm not wanting to explore the other areas, but I really looking around the room at the participants and getting to know people that quite clearly were in the different areas, and just admiring how they did their side and they took ownership and were and excelled in their space. Yeah.
What's the biggest outcome that you are seeking from this?
I think opportunities. I think I really enjoy my role with Frankston Council, but occasionally, secondment opportunities and things like that come up. There's great opportunities that I could potentially then put my hand up for and experience other areas of the business. I think I could learn, and there's other areas of council that feed into what we do. There's the economic development team, there's the customer service and customer experience. There's lots of different areas that aren't necessarily Frankston Arts Centre that could, and also marketing and comms for council. There's lots of different areas within council that hopefully I could raise my hand and, try some different things and get some different experiences and bring things back to my immediate team. So I think that's the goal. It's also, I'm really loving making the connections with the different councils, just getting ideas and different perspectives. And they're just great people because they're all wanting to learn. So that's pretty infectious. So it's a great group of people.
Before we started recording, you were saying how much you love being a part of this program, but it's just kind of another thing that's on top of working full time, and then you've got 3 kids you have to look after as well. And that's obviously a big part of motherhood for women, is managing work with a career, with what you do there. So how are you finding that? How are you finding that balance between bringing this program into your life now, excelling at that while still excelling at work, and then still excelling as a mum on top of that?
Yeah. Well, it certainly wasn't just a case of saying, yes, please, thank you, I'd love to do this. It was lots of discussions with family because it will take my time. And already I've been away overnight, and there's other things coming up where I will be required to spend nights away and things like that. So it was discussion with the family. It was about getting their support. My 11-year-old was probably my biggest fan. He's like, you've got to go for it, Mum. You've got to go for it. So that was encouraging. Also, time away from work. So I do need to at times make up for work time lost with spending days out at various councils and online meetings and things like that. So thankfully, my immediate boss, Lucinda, has been really supportive with this program and said 100% go for it. It'd be a great learning opportunity for you. Tammy Ryan, who's the manager of arts and culture, she's previously done the course and gained so much and just spoke so highly of the course and had basically given me the nudge to go for it in the first place. And it was lovely knowing that she saw that in me, the potential to go for it. So, but look, it is time management. It's lots of support. We've got great grandparents around, which is good. The kids are a bit older, so they're a lot more independent these days. And I feel like I'm in a place now where there's room for me to spend some time on me and get over the guilt or, feeling guilty about doing that because what I gain is for all of us. So if I'm successful and I'm happy in what I'm doing, then they're happy at home. So I think it's the right time, and I feel like I've got a good support system around me, so it's making it possible, which is great. Yeah. And
you've had some of that guilt in years gone by?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. From both sides, being a parent and working part-time, there's that, okay, I potentially leave at 3:00 and everyone around you is looking at you going, oh, she's leaving at 3 when they're full-timers and they're leaving, and there's that guilt that you take with you and you're like, well, I'm only a part-time worker, but you feel like you're leaving. I'd always try and wrap things up and be on top of my work, but you still felt a little bit funny working in a part-time capacity, I think. And for my kids too, like I've been full-time for the last 4 years, but I've just been lucky with having a bit of flexibility about being able to perhaps, start a bit earlier so that I can duck out for the school swimming competition or work a bit later. Or there's just that flexibility. I mean, in the industry we're in, like last week I was at the opening of the Southside Festival. So I worked the evening and then, I am lucky to have that bit of balance as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, lovely. It sounds like you got a really supportive crew there with Lucinda and Tammy and the collective peers that you have there to really support you, not just in this program, but in your role in a greater capacity as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Before we finish up, I just want to find out a little bit more around your prior experience at the Arts Centre, because you touched on a little bit there at the start, the Australian Open. Mm-hmm. Do you see some of what you do now in your current role has stemmed from those experiences that you've had prior, the tennis centre and even the cake designing to a degree as well?
It had to. I wasn't at the tennis for a massive period, but I did do an open, and I remember at the time the GFC had hit and times were hard and it was difficult. It was difficult to be selling. I was selling and marketing corporate packages. So people were corporates were spending a lot of money on entertaining their clients, and it was a difficult time to be sitting there on, this is filmed, and you're sitting there in these gold class seats when people are being laid off, businesses are being shut down. It wasn't a good time to be splashing money around and doing that. But it came back to the storytelling and, that experience. And we had to, it couldn't be about the expense of the ticket and the budget and the logistical things. It had to be about the experience and the event and just bringing back some positivity into their workplaces. And
forget about all the chaos that's happening outside. Come and spend some time and enjoy yourself.
Exactly.
And switch off, forget about everything else.
Exactly. Because on paper it didn't make sense. So it was all about the storytelling. And we had a fantastic open, and we had a great attendance, and it was great. In terms of other experiences, there's been I did my cake decorating, which was fun for a period. I did that for a few years, and that was all about being a bit creative. But again, talking with clients and trying to work out, some things about them and creating. What am I saying? Taking potentially an idea or some themes around their life and creating that in a piece of work. So. Yeah, that was a special time. Lots of novelty cakes, lots of wedding cakes, lots of corporate cakes. And it still felt like I was in the events industry at that time because I was running around delivering cakes to event venues. When COVID hit, I sort of was a really sad time to be in the events industry. So we were literally, every time we picked up the phone, it was the cancellation of an event or that discussion about, something not going ahead. So my work got less and less over that period. So I started a hamper business. So I was delivering throughout the Mornington Peninsula, just some of the tastes of the peninsula, basically, still giving them that opportunity. A home movie night box so people could still have a family evening together and things like that. So just trying to think of ways in which I could stay a little bit creative and without, losing my mind at home, homeschooling and doing a bit of work here and just living so isolated. But yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it was fun.
It brings together all of what we've spoken about, really, around the arts and the ideas there and the creativity, the storytelling, the leadership even. Like you're talking about there, you said that you weren't at that top-level ideas person, but you can consider your options and then figure out the best way to approach. So that sounds like a great example of that, where you've considered your options during COVID and you said, okay, well, this could be something we can do. We can bring all the skills that we've got and execute on that.
Yeah, it was. I like to keep my mind busy, and it was, a good way that I could use that time to do something a bit different and try something new for me. And we really enjoyed it. And I hope it provided joy. Who doesn't enjoy receiving something on their front door? So it was good.
So looking ahead to the next short few years, where do you see things moving in the event space? Do you think it's just going to get bigger and better? No doubt there would have been a huge rebound after COVID, of course. Where do you see things moving in the next few years? Yeah,
I think after COVID, the event space looked quite different. It took a while for that sort of buyer confidence and people to book. The timeframes in which people were booking their events was a lot shorter because no one really wanted to risk booking anything a year out and things like that. So it took a while before people got the confidence to come back to, booking events further out. But things have really come back, which has been amazing. Probably one of the most rewarding things is seeing all the school formals and the valedictory dinners come back, because it was really sad having to cancel those events, those poor kids that, they're ready for their Year 12 celebration and sorry, you're doing that as Zoom online, so being able to host those events has been incredible. In terms of events at the Arts Centre using the function spaces and meeting rooms, we're getting lots and lots of new inquiries. We are getting lots and lots of new clients every year. So it's just building and growing. And it's gone from, the other thing that came off COVID was often people were doing smaller events rather than bringing such a big number of people together, smaller, more frequent events. But now it's people really want that that face-to-face. They want to engage socially and be there. So the events are getting bigger again. Like you're saying before with the exhibition for the Chamber, it was exhibition and then there's other components to that as well with keynote speakers and things, and then food and drink and things like that as well with the networking thing afterwards. So things are getting bigger and people are allowing themselves to book further ahead again. So our calendars are, booked out. Don't try and get the theatre till the end of the year, you know what I mean, type of thing. So it's very busy. Those later months in the year are always really busy. We sort of, I hate saying the word, pivoted a bit with what we do with the function centre, because a lot of our function centre business is Monday to Friday corporates. So sometimes there was periods where, a prime Saturday night would be free. So we're like, okay, how can we utilise this space? And so then what we decided to do was introduce a dinner and show product. There's not a lot of places, bar if you go to, say, a wedding or something like that, where you can have a meal, listen to some music, potentially get up and have a bit of a dance. There's not for the age group that we're marketing to at the moment. So that was a new business stream and revenue stream and ability to hire out that space, which was fantastic. So we have about 6 of those per year, anything from a tribute show with a dinner included, or a comedy show, or interactive theatre, sort of thinking of like your Fawlty Towers or a hypnotist show or things like that. So a bit interactive with the audiences. So we've been able to really utilise that space, which has been great. But I think clients are just really after that unique, different experience. So we are lucky in that we can offer something other than, your 4 walls conference room. We can give them different experiences. People come for a conference and then they have their morning breakout session and they can go and have a cup of coffee while they're looking around the galleries. We've got 5 art galleries. And it's nice for people who, maybe that was a bit of a, took on a bit of information and they just want a bit of a brain break and they just want to have a little look at the art. Or maybe they're not a networker and feel comfortable having a chat with someone but want something to do other than just standing around looking awkward having their cup of tea. So there's lots of other things we can offer that, to try and enhance that experience. Yeah.
Fantastic. Rachel, it's been amazing learning so much more about the Arts Centre and how you bring all the storytelling, the creativity from the art side of it and then bringing that into sales and marketing. So that's been amazing. And then this Emerging Leaders program, I wish you all the best on that, because that's an amazing opportunity. And it sounds like in the 2 or 3 months that you've been going at it so far, you've learnt some incredible experiences.
Yeah, no, it's been a great start and I'm sure there's lots more to come. Yeah.
Before we wrap up, we've got one final question for you, and it's a question that we finish every episode with. Okay. So please finish this sentence. A modern brand succeeds when it is willing to what?
A modern brand succeeds when it's willing to... I think it stems back to all of our other conversations, and it's purely about creating an interesting story, not just promoting a product or a service. Like it, perhaps being a bit real and being honest and letting people see behind the curtains is important for us. Yeah. Definitely
both literally
and
figuratively yes. as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think probably ramble on a bit again, but I always love those that sometimes when you release a reel and it's like it's a quick win, and it's always, I love it when it's a surprising one. Like we have things like it really resonated with people when it was Dame Elizabeth Murdoch's the anniversary of her birthday, and we have the statue in the foyer. She was a huge advocate and supporter of the arts. That went off. So when things come along like that, and it's more than just saying, okay, this tribute show's coming on Saturday night, this comedy show's coming on Sunday night. It's arts and culture. It's the whole experience. It's it's telling that story and the people who are behind making it possible. So yeah.
Rachel, it's been fantastic. Thank you. Thanks very much again. Appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me, Didier. Appreciate it.